The Biden administration is ramping up nationwide vaccine efforts to help more Americans access COVID shots. The White House says it will invest $10 billion to help people find and receive vaccines, especially those in hard-hit communities. Of course, this comes as AstraZeneca releases new information on its vaccine after health officials slammed the company for using, quote, outdated information in their vaccine trial results. So we've learned that AstraZeneca plans to apply for emergency use authorization in the next few weeks. Let us bring in Dr. Leo Nissola. He is an immunotherapy scientist. We were just talking about saying immunotherapy and your name back to back, and then I stumbled my way through it. But I am glad you're here, Dr. Nissola. So let's talk about this AstraZeneca vaccine. The latest statement from AstraZeneca says that the shot is 76% effective against symptomatic cases of COVID-19. So that's not a big drop from Monday's release when they said it was 79% effective. I mean, it's not a good look for the company, especially when there are, segments of this population that are still really nervous about taking any vaccine. But it's just a few percentage points. So is it significant at all when it comes to how potent this vaccine is?
Right, and I think that's an important point for us to discuss. And just going back to the fact that we are in the middle of a global pandemic where we are trying to develop novel vaccines to cure a deadly virus or to prevent a deadly virus from becoming a bigger problem for people's health. And companies have been on a race to develop these vaccines at a speed of time, at a speed of sound. So in that sense, AstraZeneca has with the other companies, developed a vaccine of their own and try to prove to regulators that their vaccine is safe and effective by analyzing their own data. Now, data analysis, clinical data analysis, requires a tremendous amount of effort to understand the clinical signals and the potential benefits that patients may be receiving while receiving these drugs. So this takes a lot of time. And trying to do this in an urgent manner, in the way that we are doing it, is complicated. Now, because they are also based in Europe, trying to manage the global supply of their vaccine to several other countries, things can fall into the cracks. And I think the right thing to do was to actually take a pause, look at the data again, and recalculate the minute that they understood that perhaps they had more information at hand, more events to calculate on the biostatistics to understand the safety and the efficacy of these vaccines. So now there is a drop, definitely insignificant, definitely great to see that they were humble enough to pause the submission process for the emergency use authorization, to review their own data, to make sure that they are confident with it, so to make sure that now regulators that will be analyzing this data feel also comfortable, and that the population that will likely receive it feel confident in receiving it as well. So I think this is a little hiccup. They've had several other hiccups through the course of the development of their own vaccine. But again, taking a pause and reanalyzing your own data is the right thing to do. Understanding that we are trying to know about these vaccines through press releases, which is unprecedented. We usually wait until these press releases become published peer-reviewed scientific papers.
Let's talk about another study, Doctor, that found that U.S. media coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic is more negative than science journals or international media. It's something that Anne-Marie and I have talked about often, just personally. Have you noticed something like this? And how should reporters and journalists frame the reporting around the pandemic and the vaccines going forward?
I think it's very complicated because at the same time that the media has this tremendous role of informing people, especially through the course of the past last year, where the response to the coronavirus was so botched from the federal government. Now we don't have that problem anymore because I think the transparency has shown, and we are confident with the team that is leading the pandemic response. But still, I do think that the press could be a little bit more optimistic. I feel very optimistic today. In fact, I feel better than I felt through the course of the last year and a half. I think we have a lot to look forward to. And I think also Americans have pandemic fatigue. We are all tired of this situation. We are also tired of negative news. I think there's a lot of positive news out there. There's a lot of amazing work being done. And I think if we focused on that, we would be better off.
A study published in the journal Nature Medicine today shows that COVID-19 can actually infect cells in your mouth. Could this explain why some people experience symptoms in different parts of their body? That's kind of one of the confounding things about COVID-19, though there are some sort of standard symptoms. A lot of people have all kinds of different symptoms as well.
What we know from COVID so far is that the virus actually attaches itself to the nose epithelium. Now, researchers have found that saliva contains high level of SARS-CoV-2, which will open the path for many things, not only for potential prevention and prophylaxis treatment, but also understanding if this research can be turned into a new swab test to detect COVID in a less invasive manner. So now researchers, scientists, drug makers are trying to use this new information about the availability of SARS-CoV-2 molecules in the mouth as a form of therapy or a test to cope with the virus.
All right, Dr. Nissola, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.